Over 70% of the people ICE has in custody have no criminal records. It's never been about criminals.
In the soundbite, she just says 70% of people we arrest are not criminals. It's the opposite. 70% of everybody we arrest is a criminal. But the left says we're not criminal enough. No, they're criminal. Who are the other 30%? There are national security threats. We've arrested thousands of national security threats.
Tom Homan responding to some rando lunatic that MS-13 DNC put on TV because they thought they were going to throw it in Tom Homan's face. That doesn't work very well with Tom Homan. The Democrats want more crime. More Democrats, more crime. More Democrats, more murder. They love crime. They raise criminals. They are criminals. The problem is not our guns, it's their sons. Let's be honest. And they're completely out of the closet, fighting for more crime where you live. Whether you live in a big city or a small town or in the country, the Democrats are here to bring more crime. If they're very successful, then the criminals will be non-English speaking criminals, gang members from far-off lands. The Democrats have waved them into the country, our country, by the millions because they're pro-crime. Pro-crime. Now, I was just talking a minute ago about a story that broke kind of wild, actually a couple of days ago now, but I didn't get to it yesterday. Broke over the weekend. You may recall a woman named Claire Shipman, an attractive woman who was a television news reporter for ABC News for many years. Before that, she was a television news reporter at CNN. And when I was working at CNN in Washington, Claire Shipman was a reporter at Washington CNN, and I knew Claire and I liked her, and she was fun and lovely. She married another Democrat fake journalist named Jay Carney. And Jay Carney then became the White House press secretary for the Barack Obama administration, Barack Hussein Obama, if you prefer. And he was the White House press secretary for a period of time. And it's like, oh, the White House press secretary and ABC News reporter Claire Shipman, they're married and all that good stuff. And then, thankfully, the Obama administration ended, and Jay Carney went to work at Amazon doing PR. And now he's at where Airbnb. He now works at Airbnb, I think, booking late arrivals. Not really. He's doing corporate communications for them. He's not taking calls and booking late arrivals. But Jay Carney. So this is kind of, and they're married. And then it turns out they were divorced. They became divorced. And it's a little bit funny because I guess this is his Wikipedia page says that he married Claire Shipman in 2001. But I can now report that they're no longer married. They're definitely no longer married because there's news that Claire Shipman has remarried. And isn't that amazing? So he was married to Claire Shipman. Apparently they had two children. And then there was this upheaval over all of the Jew hatred at Columbia University, where Barack Obama went to school. Barack Hussein Obama went to school. And so they brought in Claire Shipman to be the president of Columbia University, where she had gone to college many years earlier. And I thought, oh, isn't that fascinating? They brought in Claire Shipman, my erstwhile CNN colleague, to become the president. And they're still calling her the acting president of Columbia University, right? But now there is a story that I didn't get to it yesterday, but here it is. New York Post. Columbia University prez engaged to former soccer star. Isn't that fascinating? Hey, Claire Shipman, my old colleague Claire Shipman, she got married again. I guess she's not married to Jay Carney anymore. According to her Wikipedia page, it says that she was married to Jay Carney in 1998 and then divorced in 2025. That's a long time, isn't it? That's like 27 years or something. Quite a long time. 1998 to 2025 when they were divorced. And they had two children together, procreating. They're breeders, you know. And So I saw this and I saw, I didn't even know that they were divorced, but now I see they're divorced. And I read the story with great interest. And it said, here's the story from the New York Post. They get a kick out of each other. Columbia University acting president Claire Shipman is engaged to a former pro soccer star and coach, named Katie Jo Spizak. The Lovebirds met in 2021 when Claire Shipman, 62, was promoting her book, The Confidence Code, The Science and Art of Self-Assurance, What Women Should Know. Turns out there's more that women should know, because that's the name of the book there, and kind of interesting. And at a speaking event for the soccer team, the Washington Spirit, News Nation, Paula Froelich reported. Now, Spizak, this is Katie Jo Spizak, is 41 years old, and Claire Shipman, they said, is 62 years old. What is it kind of a spread is that? That is, should I say spread in this kind of, what kind of a spread is that? That's a spread of 21 years, isn't it? That's an age difference of 21 years. But it turns out, and I read this yesterday, and I said, well, wait a minute. I had to go back. Hey, Katie Jo Spizak is a lady soccer player. That's not a man soccer player. That's a lady soccer player. And the team, what's the team called? The Washington Spirit. Is that the name of the team? See, because isn't that amazing? So turns out that the nice lady, mother of two, was married to Jay Carney, the White House press secretary during the Obama administration, and they got divorced just last year, but it says that the two lovebirds met in 2021, but they weren't divorced, Jay Carney and Claire Shipman, until 2025. So it's possible there might have been a little hanky-panky. That's always been a ridiculous term, hanky-panky, hasn't it? Isn't that amazing? Yeah, I'm telling you. So she was, and it says right here that Katie Jo Spizak was working for the team's front office, when she was speaking for the Washington Spirit, or speaking to the team, the Washington Spirit. Claire Shipman, 62, was previously married to Jay Carney, the White House press secretary under President Barack Obama, now the head of global policy and communications at Airbnb. The couple have two children, and apparently Jay Carney, 60 years old, 2 years younger than Claire Shipman, believed to be in a serious relationship with an unnamed woman. Well, they all love women, so they got a lot in common. They got that going for us. But apparently the Claire Shipman-Jay Carney marriage went so well, honestly, over the course of 27 years and two kids, that Claire was off from 2021 forward with a woman soccer player. And Jay Carney made such an impression that she decided she'd try women. Because, I got to say, I know another guy who was married to a woman, and his woman up and left him for another woman. I'm like, boy, that's got to sting, huh? That's got to be a weird thing, and this one is a little weird, too. So Jay Carney apparently in a serious relationship with an unnamed woman, which is pretty good. So there it is. So congratulations to Claire Shipman. Here's a picture of the nice lady. Here's she looks like she was a professional soccer player lady, I've got to say. Isn't that amazing? And Claire Shipman, ABC's Good Morning America for 15 years, senior correspondent and all that stuff. So, hey, muzzle tough. And again, I got to say, it's like wishing Oliver North and Fawn Hall happiness, because Colonel Oliver North and Fawn Hall, famous Fawn Hall, got married a couple of weeks ago in Virginia as well. Isn't that fascinating? That's kind of an interesting set of circumstances as well. Now, we've got a lot to talk about today because of crime and mayhem and murder and mentally ill people. Democrats out there stabbing, and they got another guy. The Democrats started a GoFundMe page for the man who murdered a Ukrainian refugee woman, a 23-year-old woman. And now I guess GoFundMe took down the GoFundMe page. But this is a fascinating story out of Charlotte, North Carolina, where the career criminal, at least 14 arrests, a schizophrenic, who his mother wanted him involuntarily institutionalized. And the Democrats said, no, let's put him on the street. What's the worst thing that could happen? And then you look at the video of the worst thing that could happen, and the Democrats are just not the good guys of the story everywhere you look. And with that said, I've got audio on the news media. If you bring it up, you're a racist, according to CNN and the rest of the news media. But right now, I want to go to the telephones. Let's go to the phones, Michael. Let's go to Daryl, calling from beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Daryl, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. I'm extremely nervous and a first-time caller, but I've been sitting back and thinking of this idea for a long time. The Veterans Administration is so poorly ran, and there's over 400,000 employees. Why couldn't they just give all the veterans a TRICARE card and let them go to a doctor of their choice? And I believe there's about 170 hospitals around the country for veterans. They could start using those facilities immediately for the mental health problems we have in this country.
Well, we've certainly, Daryl, got to do something about mental health, but I think that Barack Obama and the Obama administration, when Jay Carney was press secretary, they fixed health care in America, Daryl, with Obamacare, and now it's all better.
Well, back in the 90s, Chris, they privatized the prisons, and they released all the mentally ill people, and they said, well, if they go out there and commit crimes, we'll just use the prison system to incarcerate them,
right,
to put heads in beds.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're 100% right about that, Daryl. You are. Yeah, we emptied the mental institutions. We had a big one in Washington, D.C., threw everybody out on the street to fend for themselves. And after they murder somebody, then we put them in prison. And that's what we do with mentally ill people today, isn't it, Daryl?
It is. And the bureaucracy of the Veterans Administration of over 400,000 employees, you could size that down, save about $20 billion a year, use that money in those VA hospitals for the mentally ill people, and you really wouldn't have to build an infrastructure because it's already there.
Daryl, I think you need to run for public office because you've got more ideas than just about any elected official in the United States of America. And people need to listen to you, Daryl, because we need to do something about this. And right now what we're doing is nothing about this. We throw our mentally ill people on the street. And wait till you hear, because, Daryl, out of Charlotte, North Carolina, where this refugee from Ukraine was butchered savagely by a career criminal who's schizophrenic and mentally ill, whose mother wanted him institutionalized. Wait till you hear this story. Wait till you hear the news media responding to this. That is coming up. President Trump is trying to fight crime and against murder. Democrats are fighting in favor of crime and in favor of murder. They like illegal aliens and mentally ill career criminals. They like George Floyd because they like the bad guy. All right, but they do not like Officer Derek Chauvin, who was stabbed 22 times in prison by a Democrat. George Floyd, a hero of the Democrat Party, beatification, deification by the Democrat Party. They're really something. The Democrats, they love Luigi Mangione, and they don't care at all about the man that he murdered, the CEO, healthcare CEO that he murdered, Brian Thompson, a husband and father of two. He doesn't become George Floyd in our cultural discussion. Only George Floyd becomes George Floyd because of the Democrats. And now the Democrats have DeCarlos Brown, who savagely butchered Irina Zarutska. She's now murdered savagely on a public train in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the Democrats, they're big fans of the murderer. They set up a GoFundMe page for the murder. I believe they set up a GoFundMe page for Luigi Mangione, too. They love Luigi Mangione. On trial today, back in court today, is Ryan Ruth, who tried to shoot and kill President Trump at his golf course in Florida. His son couldn't be with him in court yesterday because his son, Oron, is in prison for child porn because it's a Democrat family. And, Sean Charles Dunn, who threw the sandwich at the federal law enforcement officer in Washington a few weeks ago now, they've got posters of him up around the city making him into a hero because they like crime, They want more crime, more assaults on federal officers, just like they put Dzhokhar Tsarnaev of the Boston Marathon bombing on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. They've got posters around the city of Sean Charles Dunn up throwing a sandwich like he's a football hero. And, of course, the Democrat grand jury declined to indict or to, he was charged but then brought to the grand jury. And Washington, D.C., Democrats-only grand jury, speaking of which, I have jury duty next week. Next week I have jury, I think on Wednesday. Wednesday I have jury duty. And so I won't be here on Wednesday, but I got a note from my doctor. It's jury duty. The Democrat Party, they love Ryan Ruth and Luigi Mangione and George Floyd, and they love Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and cover of Rolling Stone. They love Sean Charles Dunn assaulting police officers. The Democrat Party, I think, is going to have to be declared a criminal enterprise pretty soon. And I'm still betting money that Phillies Karen lady that stole the baseball from the little kid who was there to celebrate his birthday at the baseball stadium. His dad got him the ball. I'm guessing she's an activist Democrat, too. We still don't know her name, but I'm pretty sure that she's a Democrat. Oh, yeah, well, we've got a lot, including Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She is a real piece of work. And she informs that the police are not out there. She's talking about President Trump trying to fight crime and putting law enforcement on the street. She says law enforcement is not about stopping crime, preventing crime. It's law enforcement needs to wait until the murder has been committed, and then the police should see if they can arrest the criminal after the crime is committed. She thinks there should be a lot of crime, and then the police should maybe do something about it after the fact, because that's her. And isn't that amazing? All right, so let me see. Let's go. Where do the starts at number 7? Starts at number 7, and we've got this crazy people now. President Trump talking about fighting crime, fighting against crime and against criminals, because he's against crime and the Democrat Party, they're for crime. President Trump was talking about the young Ukrainian woman butchered by the career criminal, mentally ill, schizophrenic psychopath, and I want to share that with you. Also, the Transportation Secretary, interestingly, Sean Duffy, former member of the House of Representatives, he was asked about it as well. I got to say, Charlie Kirk, the great Charlie Kirk, he's on the case, too. Pretty amazing stuff. And then we got the communist, Van Jones. Haven't heard from the communist in a while. Van Jones, I got seltzer water. I got a lot for you coming up. Now, I also want to get to another story today. We're talking about crime and mayhem, and the Democrats say there's nothing to see here. There's no crime problem in the United States. You remember Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. I still have my hands up, don't shoot T-shirt at home that I got at a Black Lives Matter march in Washington, D.C. I think there were 2 killings at the march. Not really. I just but a little later in the day. Well, Michael Brown, you remember the 6'5", 295-pound, 18-year-old Michael Brown was with his friend Dorian Johnson when they went into a mini-mart and robbed the place of the things they wanted, big old cigarillos, which they then rolled the tobacco out of it, filled them with pot. The Washington Post said that there was so much THC in Michael Brown's bloodstream that he might have been hallucinating, which is, I think, impossible, but the Washington Post reported that anyway. And Dorian, then Michael Brown, he attacked the police officer. What was his name? Darren Wilson. Darren Wilson. I got to remember the team players here. And Michael Brown, 6'5", 295-pound, 18-year-old, could have been in the Marine Corps, but he wasn't. He was robbing a poor little immigrant man in strong-arm robbery style and stealing stuff from his mini-mart so he could make giant joints so he could get more stoned so he could be a deadbeat. And walking down the middle of the street, police officer said, what are you guys doing? And he attacked Officer Darren Wilson, who I believe has had to flee the country because of the danger posed by the Democrat Party. But Darren Wilson approached Michael Brown and Dorian Johnson. Michael Brown attacked Officer Wilson in his car. Shots fired, and young Michael Brown was tragically killed, and he was tragically killed. And then his friend, Dorian Johnson, became the hero of the story because the news media presented him as the survivor, like of a police holocaust. And, there are more people killed in lightning strikes in the United States every year than there are black men killed by the police while unarmed. Literally true. I did the research myself. More people killed in lightning strikes. But Dorian Johnson became the hero of the story, and he's an African-American man as well, like Michael Brown was. And the police officer was a white guy, and the Democrats racialized it naturally because they're the party of the Confederate States of America and Jim Crow. But here is Dorian Johnson in that time. And remember, he's the one who came out and said, oh, yeah, Michael Brown put his hands up, and hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Everything was a lie from Dorian Johnson. None of it was true, and it led to riots and undoubtedly murders because, how they like to kill people.
I'm watching the officer. He's pursuing my friend now that he fired another shot. It struck my friend in the back.
Lie.
Then my friend stopped running.
Lie.
His hands immediately went in the air, and he turned around towards the officer face to face.
Lie.
He started to tell the officer that he was unarmed and that you should stop shooting me. Before he can get his second sentence out, the officer fired several more shots into his head and chest areas, and he fell dramatically in the fatal position.
In the fatal position, it's the public school education. Well, I have an update, because that's all we have of Dorian. We have one more of Dorian, because Dorian, he came out with the hands up, don't shoot lie, and it was a giant lie. And a whole Democrat Party movement, a violent criminal movement, was built instantly overnight based on Dorian Johnson's fatuous lie. And all the neighbors came out, and they're all black, and they said, yeah, we saw what happened. He attacked the police officer. The fingerprints, the blood pattern inside the door of the car all made it clear that giant Michael Brown attacked the police officer while he was in his car. Police officer was seated in his car, grabbed the police officer's gun, and all the evidence, all the investigation, and the eyewitness testimony proved all that, except Dorian Johnson lied about everything and made up this ridiculous hands up, don't shoot BS.
Mike's hands are filled with cigarillos because we have cigarillos in our hands. So his hands are filled. His hands are not free.
Because you stole them. You just stole them all from the mini-mart where the legal immigrant was trying to make his way in America. And you criminal thugs came in and strong-armed him and pushed him around and stole the cigarillos, which you used to make big, fat joints to get more stoned, right? Well, I have an update because this popped yesterday. Friend of Michael Brown, who helped spark hands up, don't shoot chant, dies after being shot in Ferguson. Remember, that was all in Ferguson, Missouri, right? And the St. Louis Press, Dorian Johnson, witness to Michael Brown's death, killed in Ferguson. Boy, and KSDK. Ferguson police, Dorian Johnson, witness to Michael Brown shooting, killed Sunday, day before yesterday, killed Sunday morning. Dorian Johnson, 33, was shot, the 9,000 block of Abaco Drive. Abaco, I've been to an island in the Bahamas called Abaco Island, have kind of family there. Abaco Island. He was taken to an area hospital where he died. Now, police on Sunday said the man who was with Michael Brown when he was fatally shot by a Ferguson police officer in August of 2014, think about that for a minute, was killed earlier in the day. Ferguson Police Department spokesperson, gender generic, said officers responded about 8:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, should be in church, to a call for shots fired in the 9,000 block of Abaco Drive. They found Dorian Johnson, 33, had been shot. He was taken to an area hospital where he died. Police took one person into custody, not a Republican, not a white supremacist, and applied for charges. The St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office spokesperson for the Prosecuting Attorney's Office said the person was released after no criminal charges were filed within 24 hours, a maximum holding time. So here's the guy, again, Democrat-run place as well. We arrested him for shooting and killing a once kind of famous person who was hanging out with Michael Brown and Dorian Johnson, and he came up with the big lie about hands up, don't shoot. Now, he should have been shot and killed. We arrested somebody, but we're going to let him go because, there you go. So, yeah, police took one person into custody, all right, and they applied for charges. I assume that means they charged him. But the charges were then not filed within 24 hours, so they let him go. Isn't that amazing? Spokesperson said the incident appeared to be a domestic incident in nature, and the suspected shooter made a claim of self-defense. So apparently that's why there were no charges. Because, hey, it's self-defense. Yeah, sure, I shot him, but he was attacking me because he's a career criminal. Did he have his hands up? I got to ask, did he have his hands up? Because hands up, don't shoot. I'm going to go find my T-shirt. I wore it a few weeks ago, actually. My hands up, don't shoot T-shirt. It's kind of a fun T-shirt. It's a historical marker on the road, isn't it? The investigation remains ongoing. Ferguson Police Department is engaged in an ongoing consultation with St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office on possible charges. So it sounds like they have the guy, and they're not charging him because he said it's self-defense. There were initially rumors that police were involved in the shooting. Sure, because there are Democrats around. But those were false, fake news. Department spokesperson Pat Washington said. See, it's Pat. That's why it says spokesperson. Is it a man, Pat, or a lady, Pat? We may never know. The location where Johnson was shot was about 1,000 feet northeast of Canfield Drive, where Michael Brown was killed 11 years ago. He didn't go very far, doesn't stray far from home. Johnson and Brown were walking in the street when the officer confronted them. The officer shot and killed Brown, who was unarmed, following a scuffle while he was trying to strip the police officer of his firearm, as the investigation showed. But never mind that. Brown's death led to sometimes violent protests in Ferguson and other U.S. cities. Democrats rioted and looted and burned police cars and attacked police stations and attacked the police. And then the investigation found that the oversized Michael Brown attacked the police officer, Darren Wilson, in his vehicle. And I think Darren Wilson had to move to Scandinavia or something because the Democrats had all vowed to murder him because that's what they do. So they led to sometimes violent protests, Ferguson and other U.S. cities, spawning a national Black Lives Matter movement seeking changes and how police deal with minorities. Stop robbing people and attacking and assaulting the police. That'd be a good start. You know, every one of these videos you see of the police scuffling with people, it's always the people attacking and assaulting the police. Have you noticed that? And if you see somebody, when the police officer says, get out of the car, put your hands on top of your head, if that's what they do, then there's never any scuffle. Have you noticed that? Kind of an amazing thing. Democrats. Yes, sir. In 2015, Dorian Johnson, filed a lawsuit against the city of Ferguson, former police chief Thomas Jackson, and the officer who shot Brown, alleging that his civil rights were violated. The suit was dismissed by both parties last year. Pleased to ask anyone with information of the shooting of Dorian Johnson to give him a call. Give him a call on the phone. Pick up the phone. Give him a call. So Dorian Johnson, 33 years old. It was 11 years ago. Now, Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. The Democrats started their radical racist movement, their racially divisive anti-police movement. And that's it. Now, we've got a new one on our hands today because a black guy with a long criminal history and a history of schizophrenia and mental illness, according to his own mother, butchered and savagely murdered a young woman, 23 years old, who was a refugee from the war in Ukraine. And the Democrats, they got Ukrainian flags in their front yard. But now they're rooting for the murderer who murdered the 23-year-old Ukrainian woman who poses in pictures and bikinis and stuff and lovely and all that good stuff. But President Trump was asked about it yesterday, and he said, wow, and he might have seen the video of and it's a black guy who murders this white woman, Ukrainian woman, on a public train in Charlotte, North Carolina over the weekend. And it's a savage murder and pointless and just out of the blue. A mentally ill career criminal who the Democrats keep putting back on the street. And And here's President Trump on the subject yesterday.
There are evil people, and we have to confront that. I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic, just got up and started. It's right on the tape. We're going to get to the end of it. And, you know, when you have horrible killings, you have to take horrible actions.
Honestly, it is, you know, there are terrible things happening. And the Democrats are always on the side of the murderer. They're genuinely always on the side of the murderer. You know, Ryan Ruth, he's in court today, jury selection in Florida. He tried to assassinate President Trump on the golf course. He's a Democrat. His son, Oran, couldn't make it to the legal proceedings yesterday because he's in prison for child porn. Luigi Mangione murdered healthcare insurance CEO Brian Thompson on a sidewalk in New York. Luigi Mangione is a hero of the Democrat Party. They put him in magazines and they put up posters of him. They want their daughters to date him. He's a murderer. George Floyd, of course, attacking the police and robbing with counterfeit bills. Another immigrant trying to make his way in the world running a store in Minneapolis. And George Floyd resisting arrest once again, assaulting police officer Derek Chauvin. Isn't that amazing? Derek Chauvin stabbed 22 times once the Democrats put him in prison. Joker Zarnaev of the Boston Marathon bombing on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. Isn't that amazing? The Democrat Party. The Secretary of the Department of Transportation is Sean Duffy, a former member of the House of Representatives, father of nine children. And Sean Duffy was on the television on the Fox News Channel. He asked about it. And I said, well, look, they had video cameras on this train in Charlotte, but no security. They do have police associated with the Charleston Transit Authority, but apparently they don't use them. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy was asked about that. They have like a Metro Police unit, but they don't use them.
I can't pull money today from their transit system. I actually have to do an investigation. That's what the law requires. We start that investigation tomorrow, and I guarantee all your viewers that if I find what I think I'm going to find, they are not going to have your federal tax dollars going to their public transportation system. Zero, none, nada.
They're not going to have. That's what they're not going to have. Wah, wah, wah. Now, you know that our good friends at GenericCBD.com, do you know these good people at GenericCBD.com? They love us. They sponsor our big radio broadcast. Well, today they've got something very special for you. They've got a free sample of Generic CBD's best-selling CBD Muscle and Joint Cream. And if you haven't tried it, listen, it's amazing. It's so powerful that 2 or 3 drops might be all that you need. It melts right into your stiff, aching hands, your knuckles, your knees, your neck, even your back. It goes to work in a matter of seconds, and it feels so fantastic. The relief can last for hours as well. Plus, listen, this stuff at CBD, I know, it contains 0 THC, none of that tetrahydrocannabinol, no THC in there. It's pure CBD, and it relieves pain. You don't need a prescription for it. You try it right now, and they'll send you not 1, but 2 free samples. That's 2 full treatments. So you can keep one for yourself, give one to your best girl. You know, they ask you that you pay $2 to help with the shipping, but that is all. And it'll be the best $2 you spend all year. Get your free samples from Generic CBD, listen now, at yourfreesample.com. That's yourfreesample.com. You're going to love it. That's yourfreesample.com. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease or illness. Yes, sir. Yeah, wait till you hear Charlie Kirk, a good American, raise questions about the stabbing of this Ukrainian refugee. And wait till you hear the left-wing media respond to him. Let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Wait till you hear the news media on this. Everybody's a racist except the murderer who murdered the black guy who murdered the white woman for no reason at all. Everybody else is a racist. I know. I saw it on CNN. All right, let's go to the phones, Michael. Let's go to Jeff calling from Fairfax, Virginia. Jeffrey, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, really enjoy your show. And what I was calling about is I, like thousands of others, have a young daughter in Charlotte. She moved there about a year and a half ago, and she had at one time was going to meet some friends that already lived there for a while. And she had mentioned, well, I live just right off the light rail. I'll take the light rail. And they told her, do not take the light rail. They said that is not where you want to be, especially after dark.
No
So
kidding.
I just wish somebody had gotten to that young lady and expressed that to her as well. But what I called to say was my concern is the policies of the left is to foment and sow this division, this hatred toward one another. Because this man didn't just go off the rails. He had a hatred there for this person for no other reason, in my eyes, except that she was white.
And she was there.
There were African American ladies sitting right next to him. That if it was just that he went off the rails, he could have attacked them as well.
Well, and there's video of the event. You're doubtless aware, Jeff. And there's actually audio on some of the video that was shot, and I have that for you because the Democrats, and that means the media too, they're screaming that everybody's a racist and Charlie Cook is a racist. Everybody's a racist except the murderer, the black man who murdered the white woman. There was another college professor, retired college professor lady, 59 years old, murdered by a black man a couple of days ago, too. And the news media they bury these stories with a shovel. And wait till you hear this stuff, Jeff, because I've got the media, meaning the Democrats, and the communist, Van Jones. He always used to identify as a communist. Nobody's asked him about that lately. But the Obama White House brought Van Jones in because he self-described as a communist. And Barack Obama was mentored as a teen by a communist named Frank Marshall Davis. But wait till you hear this audio. And I've got audio of the killer and what he said coming up.